Welcome to a podcast celebrating Scottish culture and entertainment, which is here to sing the praises of books, films, comedy, music, theatre, exhibitions, telly, poetry, and all that jazz. I'm Nicola Meehan. I'm an arts writer and broadcaster, and I'll give you the lowdown on what's coming up, what's happening now, what came before, and what we love, which is to say that every week, nearly, I'm here to give you a kick up the arts. This week, I am joined by one of our greatest writers as a best-selling novelist, as a creator of thrilling TV favourites, as an award-winning literary voice, as a fun-loving crime writer. Whichever way you want to cut it, she is awesome. She is the one and only Val McDermid folk singer, quiz aficionado, the woman responsible for protagonists like Lindsay Gordon, Wire in the Blood's Carol Jordan and Allie Burns, and she is also a newly appointed Doctor of Letters. But we'll come to that. This episode was recorded live at the paradise that is the Portobello Bookshop in, or rather near, Edinburgh. Thank you so much to Euan and the gang for making us so welcome as ever, and to everyone at Birlinn. Before we hear from Val, just a reminder that I'll be having chats very like the one you're about to hear at this year's Edinburgh Fringe. We are weeks away now, days away. Get your tickets, please. I would love to see you. I'm going to be in conversation with Barbara Dixon, wildlife superstar and TV favourite Gordon Buchanan, Still Games Gavin Mitchell, Delamitri Justin Curry, that one's sold out, and actor and panto star Grant Stott. Music icon Horse is also going to join me. She's going to be chatting, celebrating 35 years of her iconic debut The Same Sky, and playing some songs live. It's at the Stand, it's at the end of August. There's loads more information online via kickupthearts.org. I would love to see you. For now though, to the glorious Val McDermid to celebrate the paperback edition of her excellent Darklands Tale, Queen Macbeth, and the fact that another of her many terrific protagonists, Karen Pirie, is back on our tellies. Thank you so much if you joined us in the audience. We spoke about life and love and writing, and Val also discussed her choice of a favourite Scottish album, film and book, and then some. But we started with that crowning glory of a doctorate and the story behind it.
Thank you. And I only found out afterwards that they hit you on the head with a cap. It's made from John Knox's breeks, which were apparently taken into space in the early 2000s. I mean, John Knox will be burling in his box, seeing me getting doffed with his breeks.
Had you known that in advance? So anyway, let's have another cheer for Dr. Val McDermid. Like, you got to dine out on that. You're grimacing slightly. You know what? I won't call you Dr. McDermid all night. But you're a doctor of letters, right? And you always wanted to be a writer. It's all you ever wanted to do. So surely that accolade, if you like, and that recognition, if you had to be a doctor, Val.
Oh, aye.
It's a good one.
It is. And nobody's going to ask me to do an emergency operation on a plane.
I don't know. We'll just see how that goes. But you're not flying tonight. We're going to stay here. We're going to chat for about 45 minutes or so about many things, including how am I going to manage? Look at all these things I've got, and they're all wonderful. The paperback edition and the hardback edition of this incredible volume, Queen Macbeth, which came out relatively recently. We're going to chat about that, no doubt other things, but also as part of the podcast, we do this series called All Back to Mine, where a writer or a musician or an artist kind of gives us a virtual night in round it there. So Val, you're taking us virtually back to yours. She's going to choose us a Scottish album to play us, a Scottish film to show us, and a Scottish book for some bedtime reading. So we'll chat a little bit about what they would be if we were really around at yours. But first of all, Queen Macbeth. Now, I think the last time we spoke, we were at Kirkcaldy Library, or one of the last times we spoke, and you were reflecting on the importance of the library to you, but Queen Macbeth was just coming out at that point. And the wonderful thing is, you know so many things, and now you are a doctor of letters. But even at that point, and with all your research and all the quizzes you've won and all the things you know, you nearly got caught out, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I'd done a fair bit of research and I'd talked to lots of people. And my general view when I'm writing about anything that's set in the past, whether it's 1979 or the 10th century, is focus on what you know and then string the rest of the story around the facts. Mm-hmm. You don't have to change the facts, you just fill in the colour the bits in. And so I thought I'd done this really well with Queen Macbeth, handed in my first draft. And Hugh Andrew, who's the publisher at Birlinn, said, there's a slight problem here. You've got these two characters communicating by sending notes to each other. I'm like, yeah. He said, there was no paper in Scotland in the 10th century. So I had to find another way for these characters to communicate with each other, and I was complaining about this that night over dinner with my partner Jo and with one of our friends who was round, and we had a big discussion about how I might do this, and in the course of that, the problem was resolved. I maintain I resolved the problem. They both maintain it was them, but I'm not going to fight with them, really.
It was a collaboration. You're still pals. It's
She's
still
sitting there
okay.
going, it was me.
And that's on the microphone, so there you go. That's all been registered, Joe. We're all good. But this Queen Macbeth, with or without the paper, your interpretation of her and your reimagining, if you like, of a character that we might think we know, but really that's just various dramatic interpretations as well. I guess the gift of having a certain historic grounding, but not too much in a story, gives you flight.
It gives you the chance to actually make sense of the facts instead of just making the facts fit what you want them to do. Yeah. And that's what Shakespeare did. He was trying to get in with the new king, Jamie the First and Saxed, who was set in London by the ears. And of course, his family line did not descend through the Macbeth, it descended through Banquo, which is why he gets such a good press in the play. And King James was also obsessed with witches. He actually wrote a book denouncing witches, and so that's where the witches come from. And this notion of a scheming woman kind of sat quite well with what Queen Elizabeth had done to James's mother, which, I guess he wasn't very happy about, really. And the thing about Shakespeare was that he wasn't just a playwright, he was also an actor, and he was also an impresario, I suppose.
Quite.
He was involved in running his theatre company. And to have a successful theatre company, you had to have the support of the court. Otherwise, you didn't get the gigs. And it's not like now where a show will be on for like weeks, it'll be like a season, whatever. It'll be on for 1 or 2 nights, and then they'd mix it in with, The Tempest or Hamlet or something else. So you had to you didn't get much chance to make a hit. And if you didn't make a hit, the king wasn't going to get you back. Yeah. So, Shakespeare was just doing what he had to do to make a living. I don't blame him for it, but he was wrong.
Headlines.
But he was wrong. In almost every respect. The Macbeths ran their country for 17 years. And you don't do that. In the medieval period, you didn't get to keep your kingdom for very long before the next person came along and fought you for it. Macbeth did kill Duncan, but he didn't kill him up the back stairs. He killed him on the field of battle. Yeah. It was quite legitimate. And in fact, so secure was the Macbeth's kingdom that they went off to Rome on a pilgrimage, left it in the hands of a regent, came back however many months later, and it was still there. And the alliances they formed within Scotland, the joining together of kingdoms, formed the basis of what's now modern Scotland. So we should be celebrating the Macbeths, not writing them off as a guy who is manipulated by a psychopathic woman. Yeah, quite. And also celebrating, you can maybe tell us about your Queen Macbeth, but also the women and the celebrating of the women and the power of the women and the naming of the women who are around her. Yeah, she has 3 women at her side who have been at her side since she was a teenager. She grew up with them. She was also of the royal line of Scotland, a great-granddaughter of the great King Malcolm Canmore. And she had these women around her since she was a teenager, and one is something of a seer and a healer, and one is very practical, one is a weaver, and these are the women who, they're her servants, I suppose, but they're more than that, they're her friends. And she brought them from her father's court with her when she got married. And they are the ones that stay with her throughout the book. And they have important roles in her life and in the story as well. And the story has got a split time frame. It has the early days of her meeting Macbeth and all that happened from that. And then it's also got her present when Macbeth has been defeated at battle by Malcolm. And she's at risk. She's the only person who could rally the country behind the Macbeths. So she's got to stay alive. And that's the driving force. And her women help her stay alive. Yeah, there's a quote which I love. They allowed me to keep my 3 women with me, but only because they believed them to be powerless.
That's a mistake men have too often made around women. It's true, right? Hiding in plain sight.
Aye.
It's also, I don't know how many of you have read it, it's a love story. It's pretty hot, right? It's quite sexy. You made like a pretty sexy...
well, there's nothing else to do on those long dark nights.
Right,
You know,
but that's not really...
there's no boxed sets, you know, and you only tell so many stories around the fire.
Completely. Listen, I'm completely here for it. But it did make me wonder, I'm like, is this just my age? Is this the way I'm reading this? Am I reading this into it? Are you writing this into it? You know, is this the Queen Macbeth? Are these the women? Is this a story that you would have reimagined in your 20s? Or in your...
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've written the story, I suppose, with the understanding of a mature woman. I would have written a different story, I think, in my youth, because I wouldn't have had my understanding of the world and the understanding of relationships that have permeated my heart and mind over the years. And also not the observation, you know. I've had the chance to observe a lot more people over the years. And that's such an essential part of the writer's job. Is to watch and the chill among you taking notes. Yeah, exactly that. So, it's part of the Darklands Tales series. And so were you approached, because it's a brilliant series, isn't it? I was spoken to Jenny Fagan about Hex, the witch trials, and Denise Maina Rizzio. Did they approach you, and was that in a way sort of liberating to be given a central idea or a central character that you could then spring off from? Yeah, I love a side gig. I get bored very easily. So I like something that sets me off in a different direction and makes different demands of me. So when Jamie Crawford, who edits the series, approached me and said, we'd like you to reimagine Macbeth, Lady Macbeth. And he said, you can do it any way you want. You can base it on the Shakespeare, or you can set it in contemporary Scotland. And I thought, what could possibly go wrong with a strong woman being persecuted in contemporary Scotland? How much trouble could I get into with that? He said, or you can set it in the real historic period. And I started doing a little bit of research, and I thought the historic period gives me more freedom, more flexibility. I've got a certain number of facts, but not too many facts to crowd out a good story. Yeah, quite. So that seemed to me to be the road to go down, and I was very grateful for the prod. And so off I went on my merry little way, immersing myself in what is available about the period. And there's a lot of big gaps about the period. A lot of it's like those early books in the Bible where you get so-and-so big at so-and-so big at so-and-so, where you get sort of a lot of Malcolm succeeded Kenneth, who succeeded Malcolm, who succeeded Kenneth. They didn't have many names.
No, and they're all men's. There's a surprise. So,
Lady Macbeth, her name is Gruach.
Yes.
So that's what she's called in the book. I love the idea of these Darkland Tales exploring the things that were given as the myths that made Scotland. There's the things that we think are the truth about the history of our country. Robert the Bruce and his spider and all that kind of thing. And this is a chance to revisit those stories. And in fact, we've got my partner Jo and I have got really excited about this, and we're actually launching ourselves into a joint project about Darien, Scotland's attempt at founding a colony at the end of the 17th century.
I'm loving that. I'm actually seeing clapping in the audience. There's a market. So that's a project for us to do together. We may not survive our relationship, but we should get a good book out of it. It's really fascinating. It's one of those things that we don't get taught about. We don't get taught about it at school. It's not part of, when people talk about the history of Scotland, it's not something we go into in any detail, but it's an extraordinary story, and it's probably one of the mainsprings of why Scotland is part of the Union. It's very likely that if Darien hadn't happened, we would not have signed the Act of Union when we did. Which is another story. Yeah, quite. So, I was going to say this. You realise this is the first in a whole other series. I love this idea of probing into the past and going like, you got it wrong. Yeah. Arguing with the past. It's satisfying. It's satisfying. It's also quite interesting because most of the history of Scotland has the big books about the history of Scotland have been written by men. Quite. And we women do tend to get written out of them a lot.
unless it's Mary Queen of Scots, where it turns into this sort of strange romanticised figure.
Yeah, it's not...
Who wasn't really.
Yeah, quite, exactly. And that's why, again, these Darkland Tales, and any tales which maybe at least raise questions and think about, come at it from other angles and focus on different characters within the stories that aren't, you know, are barely fleshed out in what we know in the drama. You mentioned probing into the past, and I think that's something that's maybe going to resonate a little bit throughout our virtual night at yours, because there's a wee bit of looking back as well as forward. So we'll no doubt come back to Queen Macbeth, and who knows what else, no doubt other books as well. But let's for now imagine, right, we're round at yours, Shay, Dr. McDermid, okay? That's the last time I'm going to say it, I promise, maybe. You're going to choose as a book for some bedtime reading. You're going to put on a movie, which might be on a VHS or it might be in a home cinema, I don't know. You might be fancy. But first of all, you're going to put on a record for us. So this is your choice, a Scottish record. First of all, what is it? But also, was that a tricky one to go for?
It was quite tricky. I thought about something, you know, more contemporary. But then I thought about something that actually means a lot to me and meant a lot to me at an important part of my life, and has also fed into lots of things in subsequent years. So I've gone for a 1970 album by Rab Noakes, Do You See the Lights? And it was Rab's first album, and at that period of time, he was big star of the Scottish folk scene, and I used to spend Monday evenings in the Elbow Room in Kirkcaldy. I was underage, but nobody ever questioned me. And I played guitar and I sang as well. And Rab was like, he was the local heartthrob, as well as being an incredibly talented singer and songwriter and guitarist. And when his album came out, I can't tell you the excitement of actually knowing somebody who had an album.
Yeah, a real record.
A real record. And the songs on that, I mean, I'd listened to them playing many of those songs at the folk club, and now I could listen to them again and again and again, and learn how to play them. And so, as well as being something that I listened to, it was also something that helped me to develop as a guitarist. And at the time, like all teenagers, I was trying to write songs and write poetry, and that was the start of a long relationship with Rab. We became friends over the years. When I went off to university and all that, we kind of lost touch, and then I was at Celtic Connections one night, and he came up to me at the interval and said, "It's you!"
Really?
And that was a rekindling of the friendship. And I occasionally sang on stage with Rab, who was a member of the Fife Road Show, the great Fife Road Show. And so I can say with my hand on my heart, I've sung backing vocals for Rab Noakes and Barbara Dixon.
And that's a perfect trio. Name a more iconic trio.
Exactly. I did get my own back on Barbara a couple of years ago. I was recording one of my short stories for broadcast, and it requires one of the characters to sing out of tune. And Barbara we'd got Barbara in to do a couple of things in the course of the play, and she couldn't sing out of tune.
No, really?
She could not do it.
Really?
The only
beyond
way
her.
it was beyond. She said, I can't do this. So the only way we could manage it was to put it on the other side of the studio from the microphone and have her belting it out. But, you know, it was funny though. I thought, it's like 60 years for me to tell you what to do.
Yeah, but isn't that amazing that it's actually harder to sing out of tune?
Yeah.
Well, for some people.
For someone like her, yeah.
Sadly. But yeah, he was a great friend as well. And that music, you know, it's been lovely, because then I get to revisit these albums as well. And it's so lovely. I mean, I know his voice, I know his songs, obviously did so much with Jerry Rafferty and so many people.
And you know, he became a producer on radio, but also a record producer, did Corinne Polwarth's first album. Yeah. And we were planning to make a CD together, when unfortunately he passed away. We had it in the diary and everything, so that was a lot of a blow, and I really miss him. But I can still listen to this album, and it takes me back to that period of my life, but also brings me forward through, you know, many years of listening to great music, and music's something that's very important to me, and I also think that music's a great time machine. When you listen to an album or you hear a track on the radio or something, it clicks you straight back to what you were doing then, where you were, what you were wearing, who your pals were, where you went on a Saturday night, all of those things. And so when I'm writing something that involves recent history, you know, with the Karen Piries going back in time, or the Allie Burns 79 and 89, the music can transport me to where I need to be to see the pictures in my head that I need to write.
I wondered where that record took you now, but it's really interesting what you're saying about that almost time travel, because so Do You See the Lights is the album. It's also the opening track, a gorgeous song.
Yeah.
It's got the line in it though, the sun is resting behind you. The past is never far behind in these songs, and maybe in a lot of your books and echoes as well. Past Lying, Distant Echoes, 79, 89, Darker Domains. But that also feels like a bit of a trick of the light, because you are always moving forward as well, and so was Rab. But there's a sort of melancholy or a shadow or something about the past that never really leaves us, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you're writing about the past, it's like you're living your life forwards, but you're writing about it, the past as well. Whenever you set your novels, a science fiction novel set in the 3000s is still going to be informed by your past.
Totally.
That's because that's all you know. That's all you really understand. And the sort of bits of that album that they're just lodged in my brain, like shards of glass. You know, I mean, every time we're driving out to Lookers, every time we go out past the paper mills. Or what was the paper mills? There's now the university buildings. Right, there's that great line in the East for the paper mill men working out their time at Guardbridge there. And it's there. It's part of the landscape of my head.
There's also a wonderful song, On My Own, I Built a Bridge. I love that as well. I'm pretty good at burning them, sadly, rather than building them. But we've all got to try, right? Rab's a great teacher. But it's on My Own, I Built a Bridge, and On My Own, I Crossed It. And you've spoken in the past about the ways in which, for various reasons, you felt, you know, really like an outsider a lot when you were maybe growing up, or even just being removed from people and having that observant stance, if you like. And that connection that we can make through writing and through art can make us feel literally less alone.
Yeah. I wrote... One of my novels is called Cross and Burn, one of the Tony Hill and Carol Jordan novels. And the epigraph for that is the great thing about bridges is knowing which ones to cross and which ones to burn.
There you go. It's so absolutely true. You know,
and sometimes you regret either of those decisions.
But they're there.
Yeah.
So you still sing. You didn't
I still sing.
Get to record those songs with Rab Noakes. As you were speaking about him, it reminded me that it was Rab that introduced me to Barbara Dixon. He got us together. But yeah. Back in the day, he was. I think he was a man who liked to make connections, who liked to find those bridges.
He did. He very much. He built connections in music and beyond. Yeah. You know, and I've seen him do some great shows. He did a wonderful show with James Robertson, of music and prose, for example. Yeah. And he loved bringing people together. He loved bringing musicians together, and he did a lot when he was working at the BBC and when he was working as a producer. He loved nothing more than bringing people together with perhaps different musical backgrounds to see what happened.
But you've kind of taken that and run with it a little bit lately, okay? Because the Fun-Loving Crime Writers started as a bit of a carry-on. Not that I'm saying it's not deadly serious. You're all very, very great musicians, you know. But you've been at Glastonbury. They're always sell-out shows now whenever you put them in at festivals. Yeah. Like, that is just kind of run as well, hasn't it? It's taken on its own momentum.
It's bizarre. When we did the first gig back here in Edinburgh in 2017, at the book festival.
Yeah, I think it was there.
We did sell out, but that was mostly because people came along because they thought we were going to make arses of ourselves. You know, that they could take the piss out of us for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Because we were just like idiots playing at being rock stars. And the sort of for the first few shows we did, our tagline was, "They're not as bad as you think they're going to be." But for the second gig, people were standing outside the Spiegel tent because they couldn't get in, listening to us from the outside. So we were doing something right. I think one way or another, we've all been involved with making music since we were teenagers. And so it's not like this is something we've suddenly fallen into, with the exception of Chris Brookmeyer. Who did not have a musical background at all. And the idea we originally had when we started, there was me and Mark Billingham and Luca Veste and Doug Johnson and Stuart Neville. We thought we'll get a guest artiste from the world of crime fiction every time we're doing a gig to come on and do one song with us. So we asked Chris if he'd come and do a song with us, and we had our first rehearsal, and he came down to Liverpool. and he'd prepared Werewolves of London. And it was good. And we thought, oh, he's really good. Yeah, he's really good. So we set up another rehearsal. And by the time we had the second rehearsal, he'd learned the harmonies to all the songs we were doing. And he'd got himself a guitar and he was teaching himself to play guitar. And he's so committed to this, because Chris commits himself to everything he does.
Totally, yeah.
And he actually plays lead guitar now on one of the numbers. And he's really good.
He's going to go solo, you know that, right? Oh. That's what's going to happen.
And nobody will go and watch him.
But the camaradade's there again, and that's something that it sounds very much like, particularly you've said before, with crime writers, which is a huge, obviously, church. But there is something very social about that. And that does resonate maybe with back in the kind of folk club days, that social aspect. Certainly whenever I've gone into the Golden Lion, if you've been to bloody Scotland, I'm sure it's the same at all of the book festivals, but especially the crime writing festivals. And it's a lovely thing where everyone's there, but you also feel very welcome, right? There's a seat there for you as well. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, but, when you're mentioning it there, there's another way in which it works out. When you were in the folk scene, you had pals who did different kinds of music, different styles of music. So you might have somebody who was from South America, or somebody from Ireland, or some, people from Scotland, people from Fife, people from Glasgow, and we'd all sit down and make music together. And it didn't really matter what kind of musical background you had. You'd find your tribe, as it were. And the crime world's like that. It doesn't matter if you're writing, dark, twisty psychological thrillers or jolly little cosy novels. You'll find you'll be welcomed. It's not like you'll be spurned because you write the wrong kind of book. And it's all there. It's all to play for, and everybody's welcome. Okay, so that is the record. We've listened to Rab. We've remembered his stories. It's a beautiful album. I think we're going to play it again afterwards, because there will be a signing. And incidentally, once we stop blethering, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to ask them as well. But let's mosey on through, to your living room / home cinema. I don't know where you're showing us a film. Are you making us any snacks?
Oh, with some popcorn.
Nice. All right. Here for the popcorn.
Popcorn, cheesy popcorn.
Okay.
Yep.
And you've chosen a Scottish classic. Now, but you also want to give a little nod to a different film before we chat about it. Do you want to still do that?
Well, I think that there's one... Every now and again you watch a film and a line from a film sticks in your head forever. And years ago, I went to the premiere of the film Ratcatcher, Lynn Ramsay's film, at the Scottish Film Festival. And this is set in Glasgow at a time of a bin men's strike. And there's these two guys walking through a back court in a tenement, and there's a great mound of black bin bags, and it's just, you can almost smell the disgustingness coming off of this.
Totally.
And one of the guys walking through this, he picks up a dead dog by the tail and goes, "Look at this, somebody threw a perfectly good dog." And it just cracked me up. And all these years later, it still sticks in my head as one of the great lines of cinema.
Truly. And the scene as well, though, because you're right. It's that's a film in itself, as far as I'm concerned, right? I mean, there's so much power in just brevity like that. It can be a line in a song. It can absolutely be a line in a film.
Just nailed it.
Absolutely. So Ratcatcher, well worth watching. However, I have to say that the film you've gone for has many a fine line as well, right?
Oh, aye. The film I've gone for is Local Hero. And again, that's early 1980s, 83?
83, yeah, 83.
Yeah. And, a great cast. Burt Lancaster, of course.
I mean, just starting there, right?
Peter Capaldi, the young Peter Capaldi, all legs and arms and awkwardness, wonderfulness.
Totally.
And it was and Dennis Lawson. It's just great thing. And Fulton Mackay in one of the greatest roles of his career, I think.
Rick, but everybody's in it, right? Because there's Alex Norton. Oh, there's Dave Anderson, and they've all got stories about it. I've spoken to a few of them for the podcast about it, and there are all these outros. There are all these ghost scenes of Local Hero. So Dave Anderson, of course, great theatre legend, City Lights, all the rest of it. It's like, I was in this scene and I was rowing out to sea, but they didn't teach me how to row. They just put me in a boat, and I nearly got lost at sea, and then that scene got completely lost in the film. Yeah. So you have the kind of you've got the ghost stories, but the wonder of that film is it's about so many different things, right?
It's all sorts of things. It's about the exploitation of the landscape. Yeah. It's about green issues. It's about love. It's about, do we take the money or do we keep who we are?
Right. Yeah.
It's all these things, all these conflicting things. How does a small community cope with the influx of possible wealth? How do they cope with people coming from the outside and falling in love with their wives?
Quite, yeah.
And then there's the Russians. Russians will arrive on their factory ships. The Russians are coming. And it's not, at that period in history, the line, the Russians are coming. We expect it and instill fear. And they're going, oh, fantastic, we'll have a
Cold
Kelly.
War, that's right. He comes with his vodka and the jumper and the questionable patriarchy to some other child. And
and then there's the music.
Yeah.
Of course, the music is wonderful. It's Mark Knopfler with the music, and it's just tremendous. It absolutely fits.
Completely.
And you know, one of the things that always impresses me with the music on that film, they have the ceilidh scene, and there's a lot of ceilidh dancing, but the ceilidh dancing, you never see a whole dance or a whole reel. And Mark Knopfler has written music that works with what you see on the screen that doesn't actually work for a ceilidh or for a dance.
Yeah.
You can't actually dance to the music from the ceilidh scene.
Yeah.
It's not the numbers of bars are all wrong. But he's been smart enough to take traditional Scottish music and look at what he's looking at on the screen and fit the music to what he's seeing.
It is magic, but there is a lot that's magical about the film as well. You've talked about, in many ways.
The light over the ocean.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
comets.
The comets. And then when the Americans are arriving in the helicopter through the dusk, it's like the aliens are arriving. It's just full of these beautiful, beautiful moments.
And then what's the name on the helicopter? Knox.
Yes.
Never far away.
No. Birlinn in his box. And Fulton Mackay's character, when Burt Lancaster's offering him any beach in the world, I'll give you any beach in the world, man. I need to put my refinery here. And Phil Mackay goes, oh, why would I want another beach? This beach has got everything a man could need. just like, yes.
I think Bill Forsyth films and lines that just last forever. I posted a photograph on Facebook last night because I was rewatching it, and the number of people who then came in with their favourite lines. I'd make a very good Gordon.
Oh,
We have an injured rabbit also.
Yes. And there's a moment in Gregory's Girl that I don't know why it just strikes me as being hilarious. It's a bit of Chick Murray's playing the piano. Chick Murray's the headmaster of the school at Gregory and all the boys. So and he's sitting at the piano playing dum dee dum dee dum 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 dee dum dee dum dee dum, and the lads are all sitting there with their heads round the door. And Chick Murray's just sitting there focusing on his music and just says out the corner of his mouth, "Go away, you small boys." And I don't know why, it just cracks me up.
No, but it gets, my dad's there, and my dad was a teacher, and I knew that as a line that was kind of like, that was perpetuated, I think, in many schools after that. Yeah. And even, I spoke to King Creosote, and he chose Gregory's Girl, and that was the line. Yeah. They just stay with you. He has a brilliant way of just capturing the spoken word, right? It doesn't seem arty, and it doesn't seem like artifice, but somehow you can just take that sentence or that little scene and run with it. Yeah, and there's
just magic moments in that film. Sort of Peter Capaldi picking his way over the rocks because he's fallen in love with the mermaid, and he's just like he's any minute now you think he's going to fall in. He's going to fall in. He's got his slicker shoes on. He's going to fall in.
His physical drama and comedy is wonderful, and it, of course, then has one of the greatest chat-up lines of all time. Have you got enough air left to get you home? Yes. But does she need air, or is she a mermaid?
She's not really a mermaid.
I think she might be.
Well,
don't.
She had webbed toes.
I know.
But she did a bit more than webbed toes to be a mermaid, I think.
I just like that magical aspect of it. I believe in all that stuff.
I think, as far as I'm concerned, she's not a real mermaid. She didn't do any singing.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Now, mermaids singing.
Mermaids
right,
singing.
Okay. Speaking of which, that's an interesting story, mermaid singing, and that's one of the ways in which you've said a book, a story, has come to you fully formed.
It's the only time.
And that's rare, right?
It's the only time it's ever happened to me in quite that way.
And you still don't believe in mermaids and magic.
I didn't say I didn't believe in mermaids. I just said the last year in Local Heroes know a mermaid.
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Literally, I was driving down the motorway and I had been toying with the idea of writing something about a psychological profiler. It's hard to cast your mind back to the early 90s in crime fiction in this country. We didn't have books about profilers. They barely had them in America. We didn't have books about serial killers hardly at all. But I had this idea in my head for Risk, but I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't know the story I could tell. And I was literally driving down the M6, heading back from Carlisle to Manchester, and I was listening to Women's Hour, the way you do sometimes. And I can't even remember what they were talking about, but this whole story just popped into my head, fully formed. You know, who the investigators are, who the killer is, who they're killing, why they're killing them. I literally had to pull over onto the hard shoulder and write it down, because I thought if I leave this, I might have forgotten it by the time I get home. Jeez. I thought if the police stop me, I'll just say it's a literary emergency.
You got a special badge or something? It's like put it on the side of the car. I'm allowed to do that.
Should put my gold dagger up in the car.
Yeah,
didn't have one by that point.
Right. Well, there you go. But it's fascinating that it wasn't, as you say, it was really unprecedented. There wasn't it wasn't like you could phone your editor or your agent and say, right, I've got this, and it's like, because it was unlike nothing.
It wasn't like anything I'd written before. It wasn't like what was being published around that time. And I was astonished when it won the Gold Dagger, because at that point in sort of the British crime fiction landscape, the books that won the Gold Dagger were people like P.D. James, Colin Dexter, Ruth Rendell. There weren't any wee upstarts like me writing about horrible murders. So it wasn't.
There aren't many nice murders, to be fair.
Well, no, but I mean, the way that P.D. James writes about murder is kind of bloodless.
Yes, it's left to the imagination more, isn't it? It's like we can make them as awful or as detailed as we wish.
I think that there's a time and place for writing about very directly about what violence is and what it does, and you've got to walk a line that communicates what you need to communicate without being gratuitous. And in the books where I've dealt with that kind of violence, I've tried to give the reader enough for them to carry it in their head, but not so much that it turns them off and they close the book and don't go back to it. Because I think it's quite important that we actually recognise what violence is and how it contaminates our lives. And not all my books are like that, because that's not. There is more than one way of writing about these things. And I think that I've got quite a restless imagination. I don't like to get sort of trapped into one sort of set of tram lines. I realised very quickly when I quit the day job back in '91 that I couldn't write the two books back to back with the same character because I got bored. I was halfway through the second Kate Brannigan. Before that, when I'd written the Lindsay Gordons, I was still working, so I was still doing other kinds of writing. But once I'd quit the day job and I was just doing the writing, I was getting through the second Kate Brannigan, I was thinking, God, you're boring. You really annoy me. You're smarter than me, you're thinner than me, you're fitter than me. You're better at computer games than me. Why am I spending my days with you, woman? So since then I've sort of mixed it up. And I don't generally write books back to back with the same character. There's always something interspersing them to kind of make me eager to get back to them. But you want to get back to them. This is lovely as well, right? There comes a point, or they won't leave you alone. No, they don't. I mean, an idea sort of starts to form in my head, and it usually starts with a small thing, something I hear on the radio or some anecdote somebody tells me, and I start thinking, that's really interesting. I wonder what I could do with that. I wonder if they believed him instead of her, or what would happen if. And then the wheels start turning, and you can't escape it, and it may not be what I've intended to write next, but, sometimes. I mean, when I wrote Past Lying, it really wasn't what I was intending to write next, but Karen Pirie was just chapping at the door of my head, would not go away, would not shut up, would not leave me in peace. You lay your head on the pillow at night and she's going, by the way, you could do this. Or Jason's going, boss, I think she's not listening to you. So it becomes an inevitability, really. And that's good. Because when I sit down to start a book, I'm excited. I want to know where they are and what they're doing and what's been happening to them since I last saw them. I've never sat down to a book with sort of, oh God, I've got to write this. I know some writers just write with the same characters again and again and again, and I don't know how they do it. Frankly, I'd want to slip my wrists after book 5. I need the variety, and that's why projects like Queen Macbeth really speak to me because I can go away and do something that's a bit different, refresh myself.
Yeah, quite.
And by the time I leave that, I'm ready to come back and go like, okay, so what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
I mean, I always say the most exciting book is the next one. You know, it's not the one I've just written because that's done.
Yeah, totally.
You see that in the rear view mirror, you know. And then people come and ask you questions about it 6 months later when it comes out. You're like, what happened there?
Sorry, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I mean, I've sometimes as well when you end up doing foreign trips as well to support your foreign publications, and because of the time lag with translation, you can be talking about 3 different books in the course of a week, and you think, what the fuck happened in that one?
Run for your own back, right?
Aye. Yeah,
Where are we now?
victim of my own success, really. But I shouldn't complain about it, but you feel an idiot sometimes.
Well, it's trying to keep up with yourself,
Yeah.
right, isn't always easy. Well, listen, let's speak about someone else's writing rather than your own, kind of. And again, you've chosen as a book for some bedtime reading. But first of all, we're going to talk about an absolute classic, a legend of a man, and a complete landmark, and that is Laidlaw.
Yep.
Willie McIlvany.
Willie
Where
McIlvany.
would we be without that man?
Well, it's I think this landscape of Scottish literature would be very different. I remember when Laidlaw came out in the late 1970s, I was working in Glasgow at the time on the Daily Record.
Yes.
That landmark of feminism. We had 3 of us, 3 women worked on the news team, but we were not allowed to be on shift together because we'd just sit about and gossip.
Oh, well.
You know, when men talk about football, obviously that's serious, important conversation.
Yeah.
But any conversation that 3 women have together is gossip. I wrote so many stories about miracle babies. Like, it's amazing to me that any babies are born in Scotland without being miracle babies. Anyway, so I used to frequent various bookshops in Glasgow, but particularly one down Otago Lane, Voltaire and Rousseau.
Still there.
They're still there.
Incredible.
Great
Cats
bookshop.
all over the place.
Great bookshop.
Paradise.
And when I was in there one day, I picked up this book called Laidlaw, which had just come out, so I was lucky that it was in there because they're mostly second-hand stock. And I picked this up and I took it home and started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. It was unlike anything I had read before. I'd read, you know, there were 1 or 2 writers from the working class backgrounds who had started to write, but they were in the north of England mostly. And I wasn't really familiar with anybody writing in Scotland in the vernacular, writing the way that people spoke, the way that the rhythms of language you heard in the street. And this was a crime novel. And I loved crime fiction. I'd fallen in love with crime fiction at the age of 9, reading Agatha Christie. And I read whatever else I was reading, I always had a crime novel on the go. But here was a crime novel written in my world.
Yeah.
And that was an incredible eye-opener to me. It seemed to me you could write about working class lives, you could write about ordinary people's lives, and you could write about it in Scots, the way people talked in the streets around me. And I felt like it was giving me permission. And it took me a long time to write my first crime novel after that because I was just a baby, you know.
Yeah.
And I was learning my craft. But I think many of the books I have written since, most of the books I've written since, owe something to Willie McIlvany. The Laidlaw novels I thought they were also written with great care. The prose really was careful.
Yes.
They weren't they weren't pulp like Mickey Spillane or something like that. There was a serious commitment to writing well. And so that really made me feel that maybe one day I could write a crime novel. And the thing that kicked me from thinking maybe one day I could write a crime novel to actually doing it was the work of Sarah Paretsky in the States. And a friend of mine had moved to America and she sent me the first one, Indemnity Only, when it came out. And that really excited me because it fitted in with the kind of book that McIlvany had written. It was set in the working class lives, and it was the crimes that happened in it were the crimes that happened because of that society, because of the jobs they did, because of the society we were living in, because of the way they were exploited, because of the way people exploited themselves. But it had a female protagonist who had a brain and a sense of humour and did her own heavy lifting. You know, she didn't have to get the guys in when things got difficult. And that really excited me, and that's what made me get off my bum and actually start to write.
Wow. Okay, so that was that galvanised you, but without McIlvanney. It's lovely what you're saying about the care in his writing, because I came to him through Deacon Blue. I was like a huge Deacon Blue fan when I was a kid, and he wrote a TV play with them, Dreaming, and they co-wrote some songs together from the Deacon Blue album, Las Vegas. And of course, being that obsessive way, I was like, well, now I need everything that man has written in the school library. I wish I'd remembered. I shouldn't still have it, but I've still got my copy from Wallace High Library. It's meant to have been back in, I think, 1992. But anyway.
And some of those songs were great with that Love You Say.
Love You Say, absolutely, yeah. Really, is it Cold Beneath the Hill? Really, really gorgeous songs, but it was great to lead into it. And then the thing is, you've got such high expectations, and he exceeded them. And the fact that now, obviously, we've got the McIlvanney Prize, that his name, and Liam's a brilliant writer, it's like he's still so here and so present, and his words and his stories just feel so alive.
He was such a generous guy. He was a lovely guy. I remember what was good on a British Council trip, a Scottish-Bulgarian week where we were supposed to mingle and share our culture. And I was there, and Lizzie Lochhead was there.
Oh, brilliant.
And Irvin Welsh.
Okay, party.
And Willie McIlvanney. And a couple of academics from Glasgow University. And it was and Robin Robertson.
Oh,
who was there partly
yeah.
because he's a great poet, but partly because he was Irvin's editor. The idea was that he'd keep Irvin on a leash, as if. And the first night we're in this hotel, and Willie comes in, and he's ever the gentleman, sort of his lovely pinstripe jacket. He's
so debonair.
It's debonair. Looked like a matinee idol.
Yeah.
I always thought he was the Clark Gable of crime fiction.
Completely.
Yeah. And so he went up to the bar and said, we're all drinking the local wine, are we not? Barman, bring us your best red wine. And out came this very ornate bottle of red wine, and we drank that one, and we drank another one. And I'm thinking, well, how are we going to pay for this? Well, it turned out that the best red wine they had in the place was £4 a bottle.
Really?
So Willie's generosity, yes.
Oh, I know, yeah, the sweeping gesture.
Yeah, sweeping gesture, yeah.
No problem.
But he was lovely.
Oh, I mean, an amazing man. And Laidlaw is a glorious book. However, you have actually gone for, that was just a little sidestep, because we need loads of books, and we've got so many writers to celebrate. Another man who has collaborated often with musicians, and is an incredible writer, and this is an epic.
Yeah, and it's a modern Scottish epic.
Yeah.
And there were so many, it was so difficult to choose the books. There were so many great Scottish writers, particularly Scottish women writers, Muriel Spark, Allie Smith, and to sidestep those people whose work I admire, and Allie Smith in particular, I think, is probably the greatest living British, Scottish novelist.
Absolutely.
But I wanted something that kind of was that sort of epic scale that kind of told me how we got to where we are and the journey we took. And so I chose James Robertson's book, And the Land Lay Still. And it's a great novel about modern Scotland, and it explores our traditions, it explores how we got where we are. It's incredibly accessible. There's nothing pompous about it. There's nothing difficult. Well, there's lots of difficult things about it, but not difficult in terms of comprehension, the readability of it.
Yeah,
I think
completely.
One of the things about James is he's a really smart writer, but he never makes you feel stupid.
That is exactly it. That is absolutely it. Yeah, you're right. And the framing of this is wonderful as well, because we feel so much of a part of it, because he physically and literally draws us in, because a lot of it is, I guess, documented in some way, in the wonder and the magic.
Yeah.
But the illusion of photographs.
Yes, yeah, and he follows his characters through a period, through a time. So you see people growing and developing and changing, and their understanding of the world around them, the understanding of their lives changes, and relationships change. And I think it's a really powerful. I think it's a book that everyone who's interested in where we are and how we got here should read. And it's also, I mean, it's not just a should read. It's because it tells all these things. It's a should read because it's a bloody good read.
It's a beautiful book. The characters, because we get to know them inside and out in many ways, are wonderful. But yes, this very early on, there is this formative photograph. And it's a character looking back on him and his parents and remembering the photo taken and trying to kind of understand as an older man, you know, what that relationship was. And we spoke about music being like time travel, and we listened to Rab Noakes, it takes you back. So if I asked you for like is there a photograph of you with your mum and dad? Because they can be quite rare, because sometimes you're not all together. Is there one? When you think about that in your imagination or in reality, is there a picture of the three of you?
I'm just trying to think about that. Because there's pictures of me with my mum, there's pictures of me with my dad.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones. We didn't take pictures on our phone all the time. There wasn't an Insta.
No.
You know, so
it's actually quite a rare thing, right?
Yeah. I can't. Oh, there's one of us at Butlins.
Oh.
Because you know when you're at Butlins, they'd come in and take pictures of you having your tea.
Completely.
So there's a picture of the three of us sitting having our tea at Butlins.
Oh, that's lovely though. But you're all together.
Yeah, all around the same table.
On your holidays.
On our holidays.
The other thing
Butlins doing it here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But also maybe one person's working, or the mum's in the kitchen, or you're out, or whatever. So actually, you know, when I was reading that and rereading it, it just made me think, you know, that's actually quite a rarity to have that. And of course, it's a mysterious man, and there's a stone, and there are all these other stories that come out of it. But just the preciousness of a piece of paper. Yeah,
and I mean, I think that's one of the things that that this generation will not have, because everything is instantly, it's in the cameras, it's pictures. My son's in South America at the moment, and every few days he sends me 65 pictures. And you know, I think some of them are just, what the fuck is that? And you think you're never going to look at these again. You know, and there's no mystery in this. You're never going to look at this when you're 60 and go like, oh, what? Who is that?
Where did this come from? I think that's the thing. You know, that framing device for the storytelling is wonderful.
Yeah. And you know, sort of pictures where you sort of start to unpick your family's past. Yeah. I'm doing one of these BBC in your own words, which is going to in the autumn, and one or two of the things that I was looking at in the family albums and thinking, it almost triggered a memory that I'd forgotten I had, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
My mum and dad, I used to spend weekends at my grandparents in East Reims, because my mum and dad liked to go to the dancing on a Friday night, and I'd kind of forgotten the reason why, because for me the immediacy was I got to go to my gran and granddad's for the weekend. I got to go down the beach with my granddad and through the woods with my granddad, and my gran would cook the tea, and I'd have a great time with them. And unlike my mother, who never liked having my friends in the house because they made the place untidy, my gran was just open door to the local kids. So it was a very different.
Oh, lovely.
Just had these sort of two lives. And then I found there was a picture I found in one of the albums of my mum and dad, obviously at the dancing. And my dad's all smart in his best suit. He's got a carnation. My mum's in a beautiful frock, and they're with some of their friends. I just think that was their magic.
Yeah.
That was their Friday night out. And that was, I look at that now and I think that was such a healthy thing for them to do, to dump me on the grandparents.
Yes.
And but to keep their relationship, the specialness of their relationship. And it never occurred to me as a child that was what was going on, and that was what was important to them.
The romance of that is absolutely lovely.
Yeah. And there's a track of June Tabor singing called The Dancing. Saturday night at the Adam Smith Hall. And I can't listen to that without crying. It's shocking. Yeah. It just reduces me to tears every time.
But that's what's so beautiful about having access to even a few images, right?
Yeah.
You can't always necessarily just dredge the memory yourself, right? Everything's...
And a book like this will plug you into your own memories.
Quite.
It's also, I think there are triggers in there that will draw you back into your own history and perhaps illuminate your past for you in ways that you'd forgotten. Completely.
Before I even read the book, I love James Robertson.
Does his wife know?
She does. Hi, Marianne. James has been on the podcast. Yes, she does know. It's fine. It's all out in the open. But I particularly loved that title, And the Land Lay Still. Yes. I mean, it's beautiful. It's poetry. But in another way, it's a bit of a sentence within the book. It's not some great proclamation. It's a beautiful sentence because they all are, but it's not even an entire sentence. It's part of it on its way to something else. And yet that has struck a chord. And, you know, that idea of titles and how powerful they can become is really interesting to me. Like, what's your relationship with, obviously, Queen Macbeth? All right, that's pretty straightforward. But, you know, do you wrestle over these things?
I like to find a title that speaks to me about what the book's about. And it sometimes is a wrangle with editors and publishers who don't always understand why you particularly want a title the way you want it. And I remember I had a real struggle about Retribution, with Tony Hill and Carol Jordan ones, because the title designer was, the cover designer was going, well, that's a big word to have on the front.
Oh, it's a character limit now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a really struggle to get that. It's going across there. It's too much. And I was like, you know, no, it's going to be. That's what it is.
Something diagonally.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, yeah, I try to find a title that somehow speaks to me, and it's not always easy. And sometimes it's obvious. I mean, The Mermaid Singing got called The Mermaid Singing because I was thinking, I thought it was going to be a standalone novel. I didn't know it was going to be the first of 11.
Okay, yeah, quite, okay.
And I was thinking about it in terms of the relationship between Tony Hill and the killer. That the hunter and the hunted are two sides of the same coin. And I was thinking, and also because Tony is not a man who is comfortable in social situations. And I was thinking about the T.S. Eliot poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. J. Alfred Prufrock is someone who is outside, he's a sort of wall between him, and he desperately wants to be part of that community, part of that world. Seeing the woman come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And it seemed to me that line, those lines towards the end of the poem, I've heard the mermaids singing each to each, I do not think that they will sing to me. And it still makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I thought that describes the relationship going on here. And so I went with the mermaid singing.
Yeah.
And luckily I had an editor who had read T.S. Eliot and who knew what I was talking about. And then the second one of the series is The Wire and the Blood. I thought, well, I got a good title out of Eliot last time, I'll try again. And it's one about the trilling wire and the blood, speaking of veteran scars for long-forgotten wars. And so I thought I was kind of stuck with that, and I kept that going for a while. And then it kind of stopped working, and I had to start thinking about other titles because I really wasn't getting anywhere.
Are there any lines left that I can reference? Once you're 11 books in, right, as you say, you don't know yourself where something's going to necessarily go.
No, I mean, it's I've never sat... The only time I've sat down and said, this is a length of series or whatever I'm going to write is with the nines.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be 79, 89, 99... 2009, 2019, the last year of normal life. And because by the time I get that far, it'll probably be 2029. But, but I've never started and said, well, this is going to be X books long or whatever. Lindsay Gordon started as a trilogy, but no sooner had I got to the end of the third one, I thought, oh, great story for the fourth one. So there's now 6 books in the trilogy.
And counting.
And the Kate Brannigans, I knew that was going to be a series, but I didn't have an arc of a series running. And after 6 of them, she just stopped speaking to me.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's when they stop kind of chapping on your pillow in the middle of the night, right?
That's it, yeah. When a character is no longer demanding to be heard, then it's probably quite a good time to step away from them. Thankfully, Karen Pirie's still nipping my head.
Quite. And back on the screen in the books?
Back on the screen in a matter of a few weeks, 20th of July.
Amazing. That's great. I love that as well. See them in all of their incarnations. I've just seen what the time is, and I mean, I could start reading this, but we better not. We had the press launch of the Karen Pirie 2 series last night, and thankfully it went down very well. Must be incredible as well, though, to see these different, we're talking about different interpretations of a Shakespearean character or a character from history, but also someone who has been kind of like whispering in your ear of an evening and gracing the screen in such a brilliant way is a lovely thing. The nice thing about it is that they've cast Scottish actors where the characters are Scottish. Yeah. They've not had people trying to do Scottish accents, as is so often the way. And they've also used setting, a lot of it is filmed in Fife. Brilliant. Where a lot of it is set, and we went on set for the last series, and there was nothing glamorous about this. We went to Dysart. Okay.
And we came down the hill into, on the sat-nav, we got to the hill and we looked outside this block of flats. I'm looking at this block of flats and man, Auntie Mary, Uncle Dave used to live there. Which was slightly weird.
Yeah.
Because the next thing when somebody was thrown out the front door of this block of flats. Thinking, okay, must do really like that in their day, but what do I know? I was never there on a Saturday night.
Quite exactly, maybe it escalated.
Yeah.
But again, seeing a building, seeing a photograph, seeing something like that, it all comes back. I guess we better wind up, as much as I would love to delve into so much more of everything. If you fancy, I'm just going to plug this right now, having any more chats like this, I'm doing some shows at the Fringe, including one with Barbara Dixon, one with Horst MacDonald. There are flyers along with bookmarks, but much more importantly than all of that, Val McDermid, Queen Macbeth, new book's coming out as well. We'll need to come back.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The joyous Val McDermid there. Thank you again to Val, to Birlinn, to the Portobello Bookshop, and to you if you listened or came along and joined us in the audience. It's always so lovely to see you in person. Thank you so much if you come along. I'm chatting with Val again this weekend at the always excellent Butte Noir Festival. I'll also be in conversation with the Girl on the Train author Paula Hawkins, so I'll maybe see you there. I cannot wait for the weekend. The fun-loving crime writers are playing live as well. That band's Chris Brookmeyer was my very first guest on A Kick Up the Arts, all back to mine last year. He sang the praises of Highlander as his film, Big Country's The Crossing as his album, and Ian Banks's Espadare Street as his choice of Scottish bedtime reading. It is well worth a listen. Chris is always wonderful if you fancy. If you'd like to hear more from James Robertson, there's A Kick Up the Arts for that. I chatted to him at Dundee's V&A with musician Andrew Vaslick. They were both wonderful, as they always are. I would love you to listen back to that too. If you'd like to hear more from Barbara Dixon, come and spend a lunchtime with us at the Edinburgh Fringe. We'll be at the Stand, August the 20th, 2 to 3 p.m, and Barbara will similarly chat about her favourite Scottish book, an album and film, along with her own life and work. That same week, I am joined also by Still Games' Gavin Mitchell, will be the barman, wildlife filmmaker and TV favourite Gordon Buchanan, actor and broadcaster Grant Stott, Delamitre's Justin Curry, that one's sold out, and Horse, who will celebrate 35 years of her iconic debut, The Same Sky with Chat, and she's going to perform a few live tunes too. I cannot wait for all of that, and yes, it would be so lovely to see you there. There's lots more information and tickets via akickupthearts.org. Thank you so much, as always, for listening, for sharing, for subscribing, for social media comments. Any of that is so welcome always. I'll give you peace for a little while at least though. Bye for now.